So I'm Elke Jeurissen, inclusive leadership expert, and today I'm with Eddy Debrulle, who is HR manager at Ageas Group. My question to you is, Eddy, how do you link diversity and inclusion to the company strategy?
Well, I think the first question that you have to ask is how do you build your company strategy? And I think in the past I've participated in quite a lot of strategic exercises. What we often do is then we meet together with, I would say, mainly a male executive committee with external consultants or business schools, and to be honest also mainly male around the table. And then very often at the ceremony we say, okay, we need diversity in our strategy. I think when we built our last plan, Connect 21, which is now a year ago, we went for a completely different approach. And we said, we have a lot of knowledge in the company, let's build that new strategy with internal resources. So we invited 60 people from all over Ageas, coming from Asia, Portugal, UK, diverse in age, in gender, and we went with them through a track of about 6 months, discussing all kinds of topics, stakeholders, values, but also Think 2030, so looking really not at the short-term strategy, but beyond this towards 2030. And what we saw is that we got a final strategy, Connect 21, which is a lot richer than the previous ones, where we, in 2012, then I joined the company, our strategy was mainly about financial targets. So it was really, okay, we have to, our combined ratio, operating margins. Today we see that we have a lot more angles, a lot more diversity in the sense of, okay, it's about values, it's about stakeholders. So I think the first thing is, if you want to really to have diversity in your strategy, you have to build your strategy in a diverse way. You have to really invite different opinions, different people, age, nationality, but also gender. And then you're sure that you really have built on the richness, experiences and thoughts of all these people. And then the second phase, of course, you have to integrate diversity in the different components of your strategy. When I talk about stakeholders, it's about employees. It's also about society, where I think we've subscribed to the UN SDG goals, where diversity is one of them. In the values, or 4 values of care, share, dare and deliver, we have translated that into a leadership framework where very clearly when we talk about caring about employees, it's also about an inclusive organization. Does that mean that we are, I would say, there today? It's clearly not the case. We are a financial company, an insurance company with the same figures as most of our competitors. But I'm convinced that rather than doing it by small measures, by managing symptoms, we have to start from the beginning and build our strategy in a diverse way. And then you really get things where people, I would say, believe in. And when we talk today with people in the different entities of the Ageas Group, well, they adhere to that strategy because they have helped to build them. It's people that from their company that were in that group. So that's certainly a way of, I would say, integrating diversity in your company strategy.
So you've obviously done it in a very in-depth strategic way. What would be your piece of advice kind of for other leaders who are also thinking about approaching inclusion in this way?
Yeah.
How do they get to convince kind of the CEO to do it in this approach when they've always been used to doing it kind of in a top-down manner?
Yeah. Well, I think it was not easy sometimes. In the beginning, when we discussed this kind of exercise, you get confronted with the traditional, will that be efficient? 60 people, how will that process go? Will it not be a kind of, and I use a Dutch word, praatbarak, where people will talk a lot and in the end we will not have, I would say, an outcome which fits I would say, the ambitions of the company. That's certainly an element that you have to convince the executive committee. But on the other hand, I think it also helps if you make the link with implementation, because very often where is the problem with strategy? You develop a very nice strategy, people communicate it, but when it comes about implementation, you have to convince your internal teams that this is the way to go. Here, it is a lot easier to do so, because you simply say, look guys, this has been built with the internal knowledge, with the resources that we have. So people, in terms of buy-in, well, I think you already are far away, or you have already taken a big step.
So it might take a little bit more time in developing the strategy, but the execution phase will be.
And it's really testimonial when you would talk to Bart de Smet, our CEO. During the exercise, very often he said a couple of times, look, in the beginning I was a little bit skeptic, but when I see here the richness of the discussion, the outcome, the results, yeah, this is a lot better than the previous plan that we developed with some business schools. And so, because these are internal resources, but that doesn't mean that you don't look at the external environment. The Think 2030, for instance, they have made quite a lot of studies, they have done surveys. So it was really amazing how people are, I would say, ambitious on the one hand, and also motivated to help to build that strategy, in fact.
Okay, thank you for sharing that with us.